And we're going to keep it rolling here. So we already talked about kind of the whole space where things are going. Tim just talked about how to bring community into your organization and build a community-driven company. But now, how do you actually put that into practice as a team, right? If you hire a community professional, or you're starting to hire community professionals, or your community team is actually going to start working with these other teams, what does that look like in practice? And that's what our next speaker is going to cover. It's how do you build a high-performing community team? How do you assign responsibilities? How do you find the right people that can attack all the specific areas of community so that your team can be successful as a team, but also as part of the larger organization? This next speaker is somebody who's been in this space for a very long time, and she's been working in this role for Moz for a very long time. So she's highly experienced. She's been through the grind. She's built this team up from the ground up herself. So we're really honored to have her here. Really excited that she can share her experience with all of us, because she's one of the few people I know that have really built a full team from the ground up. So hope you got more standing ovations, because we got a lot of them today. Please give a big welcome to the head of community for Moz, Ms. Jen Lopez!
Thank you. Okay, that's amazing. I also feel a little like Sally feels. I'm like, they like me. They really like me. Even though you were told to do that, I appreciate it. Thank you. So, I want to dig into the meat of your jobs and your life, and making sure that, not as a community manager, not only are you a high-performing community manager, but you also get to have a life, right? I think that's important. So there was a time when I was this solo community manager. That was me, like, I did all the things, right? I ran social, I ran our forums, I ran the blog, I did all these things. And if somebody was like, we need to do this thing, I would say, that's a part of community and I'm gonna take it. And it worked fairly well for quite a while. In fact, I mostly came to conferences, and I had to do my full-time job while I was at a conference. I'm curious how many of you right now are still doing your job while you're conferencing, right? And how many of you actually have the luxury of having somebody back at the office who's doing your job? Oh yeah, see, my team, they all have their hands up. They're all here, and yet they all have backups. Okay. So that is really the point, and one thing that I really want to get to. So there was a time when I found out that I had cancer. I am fine now, nobody freak out. I went through chemo. I had 8 months of chemo, and one morning, I literally could not get up out of bed. I had fallen into this deep depression. I was the solo community manager, taking on chemo and community, and doing all this shit all the time, and I didn't slow down. And I was out of the office for 2 months. 2 months, somebody else who didn't know my job, who didn't know the voice, who didn't know all these things because I had never trained anyone to actually do my work or help me out, had to do my job. And when I came back, they noticed. People knew when I was back. They're like, oh, SEO Moz, we were SEO Moz at the time, seems so much happier now. Little did he know I was actually going through depression, but you know. Right, so that is a thing. I want you to be able to live your life and do things and get sick and like get married and do things like this, right? That so you're not stuck there all by yourself, hoping, you know, that you're like this person, like, oh shit, random people in the office have to do my job. So I got smart, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna start hiring people, we'll build up a team. All we really need is 2 people, right? Because I mean, I had been doing everything myself. Why would I need more than that? And as we started to grow over the years, we started realizing there were different ways to do this, right? So this is our team now. Most of the team is here. Yay, raise your hands up there. So if you have any questions, also ask them. They know all the things. And so what I really want to take you through is how we did that and give you that framework for doing that yourself. So that even if you are the solo community manager doing all the things, you can figure out a way to make sure that you can go on vacation, take a break now and then, get sick if you have to get sick, all those things. But the thing is, it has to start with you. If you don't get your shit in order, the rest of your team or anyone else around you is not going to have their stuff in order. And I realize, anyway, never mind. So we're going to start with you. We're going to start with you figuring out your deal. I'm going to throw this out there. You have to understand your goals. Now, there can be an entire conference coming up with community goals and all that stuff, right? So I'm not going to dig into that any deeper. But what I want to do is just remind you that all of these things should roll up into what your specific goals are for your team, for your community, for your company, all of that. And we just talked about this, right? Focusing on your strengths. It is scientifically proven that if you focus on your strengths, you are less stressful because you're doing the things that you're already very good at. Imagine, if you will, you have these two things. This thing you're really good at and you kind of love doing it. And so the more you practice at it, the better you get, and all of a sudden you're like this expert awesomeness. And then you have this thing over here where you're like, I'm not really good at it, and you can only become mediocre, right? So why struggle so much, spending so much time doing these things that you're like, that really sucks, and I'm not very good at it, and then you have these things over here where you can excel, right? So everyone has those things, and that's what we're really going to focus on, is finding what those strengths are. And I just went backwards. Noob. All right. So again, I also talk about the Gallup Strength Finder. It's a really great way to do this. Now, you're going to laugh because when you look at, this is my information, right? My top 5 strengths: input, communication, arranger, activator, maximizer. Those sound awesome until you put them into this group over here, and you see that 0% relationship building. Like, how is that a thing? Like, I'm a community manager. Apparently, I can influence the hell out of you, but I'm not going to build any relationships. So just FYI, talk with them. They're much better at that stuff. Right, but it's something to really know, and it's something to know that you can do with your entire team once everybody gets through that, and you realize, okay, so this is where our strengths are. This is where people really excel. These are the areas that we want to put people in and focus on. The next thing to do for yourself, again, is to take the tasks that you do, the specific things that you do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and break them up by type. Right? You may only have 2 types of things that you do, depending on what your particular role is. But on our team, we have everything from social media to moderation to writing, editing, gathering metrics, administrative mumbo-jumbo, right? There's like all these things that need to be done. So we take those and build a calendar. So we currently have someone on the team who is on a 3-month sabbatical, right? Like, holy shit, like we had to like cover all of her things, right? And we didn't really have the ability to just hire somebody to come in and learn all the things. So we had to figure out how we were going to cover it. So she created a calendar, like this is what I do in 40 hours, which, how many of you actually work 40 hours? Yeah, nobody. Oh, there's one person down here. You're awesome. Right? 40 hours is like adorable. But, right, you can put together the outline of essentially like what your day looks like. How much do you spend on social? How much do you spend in meetings? How much do you spend checking, your kabillion emails or whatever the case is, right? You put them all in a calendar. And then you can take this task list, this group of areas, and say, who's going to divvy this up? This is actually from our community team meeting before Megan left, where we were like, these are the things, these are the people who are taking over, and these are the things that nobody's taken yet. How are we going to do these, right? So we went through each task and made sure that Megan had somebody. And I'll tell you how we do that also with the greater team here in a minute. I created a template very similar to something that we use. So you can download this template. It's just at mz.cm, not .com, .cm, /personal tasks. And you can use this template to help you sort of make sure that you have a backup for all the things that you do. And the key is the backup does not have to be someone on your team, right? We just talked about that. For our big conference this year, we had people from accounting, we had a database manager, our DBA, we had people from all these different parts helping manage Twitter. Because we were like, hey, who wants to help manage Twitter? And people were dying to be a part of the community, people on staff. And so we started to train, because what you need to know is somebody who who's good at blog post editing. They could be on the product team, and they can help you edit blog posts so that you can, take your vacation. This is Meredith, and we just got to integrate it into like every slide. So say hi to Meredith. Right? You can take an actual vacation. You get all this stuff. You figure out who can do your things. You train them. You get everybody backed up. You are able to like have a life, and it's this wonderful thing. And you can get sick and not be stressed out that you're not getting your job done. Not stressed out that you're like sick, right? And you can use this same process with the entire team. One other thing that I love to do is this process of love, like, hate. You sit down each person, and you write up on the board, love, like, hate, and you start listing all the things that you do, right? Loves speaking at conferences, writing, and Pinterest. Hates LinkedIn, scheduling posts, daily metrics, right? So you have these things, and it's like, it's okay to hate things. You want to make sure that the people know that hating it also doesn't mean you'll never have to do it. It simply, is helping us understand where those strengths are, where your loves lie, all that good stuff, right? And then you can take that from the team and put it into a spreadsheet, which will be up in a couple slides. So what you find these other things, right? So this is updating revenue metrics. And we realized as we were going through it, it was only a hate because the process for getting the data was a huge pain. So it was like, as we're going through this, so the hate isn't the actual thing, it's the how you do the thing. So we were able to fix that and say, so how can we make this change? How can we make this different? Another one was, we found these 2 tasks that didn't need to be done. We were like, whoa, why are you doing this thing? We totally don't need to do this thing. Somebody else does this thing. So it was a way to figure out, right, that it was like we were doing unnecessary things, and we were able to take those out. And then we took everybody's love, like, hate and put it into a spreadsheet so we could see where everybody lied. The amazing thing is most people, their loves were in the areas that they were already working in, which was a little like, got that one right. Right, but then we found these so there are areas where nobody loves managing Q&A. That's our forum. And so we started to have this, okay, who would love to do that? Well, we have an associate that we call them associates, and they're like part-time folks that are experts in the SEO space. And we found someone who was already one of our associates that we said, Christy really loves Q&A, and maybe we can really get her more integrated into that. And she became that person at the time. And we also break down those tasks specifically by the team, right? So we just go like sticky note crazy or whiteboard crazy, whichever you want to use, whichever is easier, right? And so we have our community strategy and our social strategy, and everybody puts the tasks that they have, and they put them in the right places. And you can figure out, you take a look at that and say, these are the tasks that need to be done. These are the tasks that are getting done. And they're like, these are tasks that nobody's doing. And are they important? And we went through every single task and every single thing that everybody did to make sure that we couldn't get rid of something or make something better or say, do we have to do this? And there were a few things that we were like, no, No, we don't. That is not a thing that is not in our goals, right? And we came up with a backup for every single thing that everybody does, right? Up here you can see all the things: managed Q&A, monthly Moz point management, MozCon, community platforms work, right? We have an owner and we have a backup, and in some cases, a secondary backup. And the people in blue are not on our team. Those backups are people from other parts of the company. I also put this template up, mz.cm/team backup. You can also use the same template. Just take it, save it on your own drive, and have fun with it. I'd actually love to see what changes that you make to it and what you can add to it. So you get to, at this point, right, every person has gone through this process of making sure that they know what tasks they're doing, they're on track, you've made sure that they're, focused on as much of the loves and likes as possible. Obviously, somebody's got to do the crappy stuff sometimes, and right, it's just got to get done. But you're at a point where things are getting done and things are happening because people have been cross-trained. People know how to do these things. People learn, and you start essentially stealing from other teams, right? Because you're training all these people to do this. And at this point, once you have that down, even if it's just you, and then you have the second person, and you guys are good, and you got it all down, and you go to the next one, right? You can start to grow. We get a lot of questions that come up. That we don't have a budget. Nobody has a budget to hire another person, right? So this is an email that Erica on our team sent that was like, hey, we need help for our Mozinars, which are webinars. We have this thing where at Moz, everything has to start with Moz, like MozCon, Mozinar, anyway. So Erica's like, hey, I need somebody to help us out with webinars. And we sent it out to a number of internal teams. We didn't say, we need somebody to run all the things. We said, we just need help with this one little thing. Well, Matt was on a different team. He's here today. Matt, wave. He was like, oh, I'm really interested in that. And now he's on our team because we have slowly, added work and given him more tasks and realized that it was something that he really loved, he's really good at, and we were able to bring him onto the team. And what about those skill sets? What skill sets do I look for? What skill sets do I look at to know who to get next, right? That's when you start looking at that list that you did before, or you look at those strengths that everybody has, and you find those areas, what's the weakness? Is it that everybody hates social media? Usually not, but sometimes, right? Or is it that nobody wants to do any of the metrics or any of the planning? Or everybody wants to do strategy and nobody wants to do the actual work? That comes up a lot. Right? So there's all these things that you can find. We carve out that, okay, this is what we need for now, and then we change it. Now, how many of you are like, this is way too task-focused? I think at a strategy level, anybody? Anybody actually? No. Whatever. I wanted you to say it so I could be like, no. But anyway, thanks. The thing is, oftentimes you think oh, this is too granular, right? I want to think strategy and big stuff and all these things. But you know what? Shit's got to get done. And shit's got to get done when you're sick, and when you take a break, and when you go on vacation, right? And this is how you can make that happen. This is how you can do it. You have to know at a base level what those tasks are, what you're actually good at, what you really suck at. It's okay to suck at things. It's okay to learn the thing and learn that you suck at the thing, and then find somebody else to do the thing much better, like this entire team. They're better at all the things. And it's one of those things, it's a continuous process. So we don't do it once and then, let it go. Every 6 months, we go through this process again. We look at all those tasks, we put them all up on the board, everybody says this is what they're doing, and we start talking do you want to do this? Do you want to learn this thing? Would you want to cross-train her? Do you want to be the backup on this? And we do it every 6 months so that people are always starting to learn new things. They're always in the back of their mind getting that new stuff. They know that it's like, okay, I'm doing this dreaded thing, and in 6 months, I can say, please, for the love of all things community, give it to somebody else, right? But you've done it. It's okay. So my main things are, first, you got to know yourself. I should have said check yourself. I am so disappointed in myself right now. Next time, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay, so you're going to know yourself, right? You're going to get yourself in order. You're going to get all your stuff, because once you know you can move on to the next person, or it's going to be more helpful to help the rest of your team. The next part is knowing the actual team, right? Making sure that all the things are in the right places and people are working on the right things and everything's covered and people can, get sick and go on vacation, that sort of thing. Then is when you have the ability to grow the team. Because then you know what you're missing. You know what pieces aren't there. You know what you're not so great at, and you need somebody who's actually an expert in that thing. You actually lay the foundation, right, of being able to get that team producing things, getting things done, working out there in the community, making those connections, doing those things. And yes, that's actually me and Erica laying with our feet up in the air. She can tell you the story later. This is the way that you take this framework and you can build your own high-performing community team, whether it's one person or 8 people, right? So take it, and here are the resources. Thank you very much.